Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chelsea. You know that, I know that. I'm just a lady with a bulldog, a camera, and too many opinions. And you know what I love? Supporting, empowering, and sticking up for other loud women on the internet. And two of those women who I absolutely love are Bunny Hedaya. She used to go by Bunny Barbie, I think, but Bunny Hedaya, and then Suzanne Lambert. I love both those women. I think that they are great. You know who doesn't think they are great? Taylor Lorenz. You probably have heard that name before.
Ignorant influencers shouldn't be getting involved in politics.
Taylor Lorenz is an influencer and a journalist, formerly at the New York Times and the Washington Post. She left after writing a pretty scathing piece on former President Biden, where she called him a war criminal. She covers trending topics and controversial topics on her Substack and her social media accounts. On August 27th, 2025, Taylor Lorenz wrote an article for Wired titled, "A Dark Money Group is Secretly Funding High-Profile Democratic Influencers." She's been the target of online harassment. She's been doxxed multiple times, mostly by far-right and conservative content creators and their fans. Before he was fired by Fox News, Tucker Carlson went after Lorenz on his nightly show, claiming that Taylor Lorenz was at the top of journalism's repulsive little food chain, and that she was far younger and much less talented than her colleagues at the New York Times. On TikTok, she has 546,000 followers. On Instagram, 170,000. And her Substack has over 90,000 subscribers, and it's called User Mag. She describes it as a tech and online culture publication by Taylor Lorenz, featuring original reporting on how the internet is reshaping politics, business, media, and culture. So Taylor Lorenz is on one side of this, and then we have Bunny Hedaya and Suzanne Lambert on another side of this. Do just keep in mind that Taylor Lorenz was coming for Suzanne Lambert and Bunny Hedaya for different specific instances or situations, but they are very similar, and the way that she responded and was acting is very similar, and it was around like the same time frame basically. So I wanted to include both of those in one video. Okay, let's get back to the players. Taylor Lorenz, already covered her. Now let's get into Bunny Hedaya. Now Bunny Hedaya is a content creator and a business owner. She's known for her authenticity and being transparent. She has a son who is smarter than all of us. She shares political, activist, lifestyle, fashion, and even family related content. Formerly, she went by the nickname Bunny Barbie, but then stopped when Mattel sent her a cease and desist. Bunny is active and on the board of the nonprofit Baby Cycle, which supports mothers with essential items like formula and diapers. She's faced criticism from other creators like Nick Viall, a former contestant on The Bachelor and the host of The Viall Files, who claimed that Bunny was exploiting her child by posting them online. Bunny responded by sharing that her son has his own savings account and investment accounts. Also, I do want to elaborate on that a little bit too. With that situation, he had said that she was exploiting him, and she was like, no, if my kid doesn't want to be in a video, then he's not in a video. And then also her content isn't about her kid. Like, she could never post her kid ever, and she still has a catalog full of content. And then also, like, it's not like a family vlogger. Like, people really seem to think sometimes, unfortunately, that it's very this or that thinking or binary thinking. It's very black and white when it comes to like keeping kids off the internet. It's exploitative, blah, blah, blah. And that is something we're going to talk about today too. But it is very much so a sliding scale. Like, for instance, Bunny really inspired me to any ad read that my son just happens to be in. For instance, when I was very freshly in postpartum, I had to get an ad. Like, you sign contracts. Like, there's either you get it done and with this contract, or you have it canceled and then you lose out on $2,000. And as a content creator, like, you don't know when you're going to get that money again. It's very fickle. So it's like, no, I need to get this done. So I had my son on my lap when he was a really, really little baby, and had him like propped up in front of me. He was off camera, but you could like see me like playing with his feet. And I worked it into like a Babbel ad, you know, the language learning app, right? And so I even said like, oh, Babbel can't, you know, teach me how to understand my son babbling, blah, 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 whatever. And that entire ad read, because he was a part of it, even though he was in like this much of it, like his feet were in this much of it, I took that and started his savings account, college fund, whatever you want to call it, with that. And then also he has been in like a few more just because like I had to meet the deadline. And then he was in one where we were doing like a faux like game show type thing in our kitchen, me and my husband, and my son like ran up and like blah, 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 like into the mic, and it was really funny. And I didn't want to cut it out because like that was so cute. But again, he wasn't in the whole ad, but half of that money went into his account. So there's things like that where it's like, that's amazing that she's done that. But also all of the content is not about the kid, right? So I just want to make that clear. I know people who always watch my channel understand like it's a sliding scale. Like people don't know my kid's name as he's becoming more of like a human and like looking like not like a just every little kid. Then, I'm posting him a lot less and stuff, but it's just very interesting. So I just want to make that clear because we are talking about this topic in this video for part of it. So yeah, it's a sliding scale. There's a difference between like family vloggers that if they didn't have their kids in their content, then they wouldn't even have content to post, opposed to like Bunny, who at times does have her kid in her videos, or he's like telling her something about like the moon or something, or just the kid is so smart. It's crazy. But still, she like her content isn't about him, right? So it's not exploitative. It's okay. Anyways, so that was a whole like controversy that she was in. She was also in a controversy, which it's funny because she's like, why does this happen with like men? I literally get like thrown into this and like, what's happening? So she was in a little controversy with Matt Rife because I guess her son saw like a video on TikTok of like Matt Rife saying something during one of his comedy sets, one of his shows, whatever. And he said something about like space or like something about this or that, whatever. And her son came on camera and was like, actually, did you know? And like corrected him, right? And I'm probably getting this wrong. We'll have a something inserted that like shows actually what happened, but it was really, really funny. Her son, Aiden, is just the cutest, the best. I swear to God, he's smarter than all of us. He's a genius and he's been homeschooled, which is amazing. And they are pro-vaccine, which is also amazing. She's been making that clear lately too.
Because I have such a large audience, when I see people in person and when people see space clips, they tag me in them because they know that that's what he likes. This is the video that I posted.
Nothing to do with the stars, man. Just because Jupiter has a ring and you don't, doesn't mean
Saturn has the rings, and it has more also, and you're mean to girls.
As you can tell, I love Bunny. Matt Rife said something along the lines of like basically making fun of her son and then saying that like Bunny gets all of her money from OnlyFans. And she's like, what? I don't do OnlyFans. Like I own multiple businesses and I'm a content creator as well. Like this is my full-time job. I live in the same area that Bunny does. She's just across the bridge from me. And like it's known that she is a businesswoman. Like she's been featured in, I forgot what magazine it is, like multiple really, but there was this one magazine or book or publication, whatever, that was featuring like multiple women in the Tampa Bay area because she lives here too. And my sister was featured and Bunny was featured too because they are like women in business that are, doing right? So that was insane. But anyways, let's get back to Bunny. Bunny also has been advocating to pass laws that protect children who are being monetized for content online. Like we said, it is a sliding scale. And she's been working with Quit Clicking Kids. And that's an advocacy and education site that combats monetization of children on social media. Bunny has over 2.3 million followers on TikTok, almost 300,000 on Instagram, and YouTube, she's almost at 60,000. And on YouTube, the quality of that is insane. She has like her own show on there, Becoming Bunny, and it's like reality show quality. She's amazing. And then we have Suzanne Lambert. Suzanne has entered the chat. Fun fact, Suzanne was my godbrother's date to my wedding. She was. Girly Pop was sitting front row. And that was before either of us were content creators, which is hilarious. But love her so much. I would call her a comedian, a content creator. She's really known for her, I guess I want to call it like political advocacy, but then also trolling. I love it. So I'd say more recently on TikTok, and there's multiple things that she's really, really known for, but on TikTok, she had been doing the like MAGA makeup tutorials and it's hilarious. And then also just like other MAGA skits, and her nickname is the liberal Regina George. And then also she has had multiple instances that have gone quite viral where someone is like rude to her or someone is like saying something stupid online and then she takes it and then like buys their domain, like their URL. Like for instance, one that she owns right now is JD Vance for President, which is hilarious. And she said when she's like, it was really cheap. Surprising how cheap it was. One of the main ones that she like that really went viral and caused her social media to grow a lot was this girl had posted something that was very like trad wifey and just like ew, just gross. And then she had something in like her bio where it linked to like something else and it was like Turning Point America, something like that. And the links were broken and Suzanne Lambert bought the links and like had them redirect to, I think it was like a meme or something. Hilarious, absolutely amazing. Suzanne lives in Washington, D.C., sometimes does come to Tampa Tampa. I've tried to get her to come more. She's a busy lady. She's also the mother to a beautiful little girl named Ruthie, her dog. On TikTok, Suzanne Lambert has almost 900,000 followers. And then on Instagram, she's closing in on 220,000 followers. And per her website, it's SuzanneLambert.com. She is a comedian and a middle child. Now that we know way too much about all these people, let's go ahead and get into the incidents with an S. So in July, this past July, like 2 months ago, Taylor Lorenz posted this video to her TikTok where she was basically criticizing content creators and influencers for not fact checking their news and media related content, essentially sharing misinformation or disinformation, but misinformation.
I've been noticing a lot more activists and content creators, for lack of a better word, covering the news, and specifically news related to immigration, ICE-related stuff, and technology. And as a professional tech reporter, I just want to talk about some things that you should look out for. So the beauty of our media landscape today is that we don't have to get our news from mainstream media, and nor should we. But a lot of content creators are making news and journalism-style videos without doing basic reporting and fact-checking. Anyone can do journalism, and I think it's actually really important for most average people to learn the basics of reporting. The most sort of fundamental thing I would say is if you are going to do news coverage, fact-check what you put out before you put it out. Do everything you can to speak to actual experts in industries. You know, if you're covering data privacy, for instance, speak to some cybersecurity experts. If you're covering deportation, speak to some immigration lawyers. Like, try to speak to experts in the field of whatever topic you're covering. And this could just be reaching out online and saying, hey, I'm a content creator. I want to make a video on XYZ topic, but I wanted to ask you a couple questions to make sure I have my information right. Most of these people, like your sources, will actually be happy to answer your questions. But one thing you never want to do, and is actually antithetical to journalism, is to spread unverified information just to be safe. You hear this language a lot, and it's often from well-meaning people. They see something potentially inflammatory, or they see information that is concerning, and instead of taking the time to fact check and do journalism before spreading it, they think, well, I should just spread it because, you know, the claims that are being made are so potentially damaging that it's safer to just spread this misinformation, or potential misinformation, I should say. This is actually a really backwards and harmful way to think about it. The most of the time, I can say with like I would say 95% confidence that most of what you see that's like sort of shocking, inflammatory, like information, especially related to technology, is false. It's almost always false, like once you start to dig into it. We saw this recently with the ICE Block app, where basically this guy made this app to theoretically kind of report different ICE sightings around the neighborhood, totally well-meaning app. A bunch of people kind of misunderstood app development, misunderstood data privacy, just like didn't really understand sort of basic tech concepts. And they were rightfully kind of nervous about this app, and they were skeptical. And you saw a lot of people saying, well, why is the media covering this app? Is there some conspiracy? Why is CNN and NBC suddenly writing about this app? There's no conspiracy. It's just a sort of viral, useful app. But I get it, because people are so distrustful of the mainstream media. The mainstream media is overwhelmingly not on the side of immigrants. Like this sort of like sentiment comes from a really good place. And I understand the impulse to want to like warn people. But instead of fact checking any claims about this app, a lot of people just got on and started making these like viral videos, all of which were like just full of really bad misinformation. And listen, these people are often doing really essential work. Like they are on the ground fighting ICE raids. Their hearts are in the right place. But that doesn't excuse spreading misinformation or doubling down on that misinformation when, you know, the claims in your video are proved false. So in this case, what would I suggest people do? When you see information from an activist or content creator or anyone that you follow, and it seems kind of shocking or scary, fact check the information yourself as best you can. Or try to go to a trusted source, a actual, you know, professional journalist that covers a certain topic that you see, or maybe somebody that you really know is an authority in that space that's going to take the time to really verify claims. I think journalism is ultimately a practice. It's not a profession. Like some people do the practice as a profession all day long, but anybody can do journalism. Anybody can do reporting. That is the beauty of, you know, again, the media landscape that we live in today. But I think with all of the tensions and the rightful sort of concern that we're feeling around immigration and all of these other really scary issues, all of the terrible things that are happening in this country, we really need to slow down, fact check information, and try to kind of collectively create a better media environment. I encourage anyone sharing information on the internet to have a little humility too sometimes and recognize that you might be wrong. I'm wrong sometimes, I admit it. And you know, maybe you shared information meaning well, but if you have actual experts in a field, you know, in your comments telling you you're wrong about something, if you have journalists that sort of professionally cover a specific topic that you've made a video on for a living coming into your comments saying, hey, you actually have this wrong, don't double down. Don't keep the video up, you know, so that it amasses more and more views and spreads conspiratorial misinformation, you know, even further. Try to understand that, you know, we all want to create a better media environment. This is not a personal attack on you. We all get things wrong sometimes, and take the video down. Don't lash out and attack journalists that are trying to like help you. Don't attack, you know, subject area experts or other people. Just take a little time, do the reporting, do journalism, and you know, make sure that your information is correct before you're sharing it online.
And then a few days later, Taylor Lorenz posted a quite highly critical video of Bunny Hedaya ongoing efforts to pass legislation, which is ensuring that children are appropriately compensated monetarily for the content that they are featured in, which, yeah, that should be a thing.
You may have heard that some influencers are moving out of California because they now have to pay.
Okay, let me stop that lady right there, because absolutely nothing she says in her video is true. Nothing. She's spreading blatant misinformation, and this is a perfect example of why ignorant influencers shouldn't be getting involved in politics without educating themselves. So not only are we not seeing any sort of mass exodus of family vloggers from California, parents in California already had to pay their kids, like if they're child entertainers. This whole idea that there are no labor protections for child entertainers in California is just, it's silly and it's completely untrue. But what's really scary is that these laws that she's pushing, these laws that protect child influencers, don't actually protect child influencers. What they do is actually harm people, take away their voice online, and censor journalism. And if you're like, but Taylor, I don't understand, why are these laws getting pushed by everyone? They're getting pushed by everyone because nobody's actually reading the laws, and they're being sold amidst this moral panic about kids and the internet. And by the way, the people involved in pushing these state laws have no clue what they're talking about. The state legislature for Utah admitted that he didn't even know what was in the law when it was passed. And multiple people who actually testified for the state law, the Protecting Child Influencer state law, said that they never even read it and had no idea what was in it. Meanwhile, right-wing groups like the Heritage Foundation are backing these laws because what these laws are ultimately about is censoring LGBTQ voices, getting reproductive justice content off the internet. It's about censorship, and it's about restricting online speech and online civil liberties. That is what you guys are all backing. And like a lot of dangerous, bad far-right legislation, they know that if they frame these laws as protecting kids and protecting exploited child influencers, a bunch of absolute morons on the internet won't bother to do even an ounce of research or even talk to any civil liberties experts about the implications of these laws. They'll just blindly support them, like this dumb influencer with millions of followers pushing this dangerous legal effort to her stupid fans. And I'm sorry to call them stupid, but like, come on. Anyway, I wrote a 7,000-word detailed legal takedown talking to civil liberties experts across the country about how dangerous these laws are, the horrible implications they have, the way that it will actually hurt children, it will lead to more exploitation, and most importantly, it will censor journalism, it will censor LGBTQ content. These laws are really dangerous and bad and irresponsible, and they're horribly written. I also did an entire 35-minute breakdown on my YouTube channel about one of these laws and why they're so bad. The laws are structured very similarly across all states, so you could just watch that. It's under video essays on my YouTube channel at Taylor Lorenz. I beg you to please watch it and use your brain cells before backing this insanely bad legislation pushed by morons.
So there's a lot of things in that just are icky to me, but it's wild that she says the Coogan law already existed and parents already had to pay their children if they're entertainers, but that's not true. This is from Gavin Newsom's actual website, and it says September 26th, 2024, Governor Newsom joins Demi Lovato to sign legislation to protect the financial security of child influencers. SB 764 establishes financial and legal protections for minors featured in monetized online content, i.e. child vloggers, by mandating their parents or guardians set aside a percentage of their earnings in trust accounts. AB 1880 expands the Coogan law to include minors who are employed as content creators on online platforms such as YouTube. The Coogan law is a decades-old statutory scheme that protects child performers and creators by ensuring that their employers place at least 15% of their gross earnings in a trust till they reach adulthood. And so that was in 2024. So that was last year that was signed. So no, not every state has the Coogan law, but we're seeing more and more that states are enacting these types of things because it used to be way back in the day, the Coogan law was in California because that's where like almost all production happened, but now it's not. Now, next to California, there's Florida, there's Texas, there's Georgia. Y'all know how much production happens in Georgia? It's crazy. So back to Taylor Lorenz's video where she was responding to Bunny Hedaya. Now, well, not responding to, but interrupting her, honestly. That's what it seemed more like. There are comments on here where it says, what's the problem with protecting kids? Wait, so to get children paid for appearing online is bad? I don't get it. And someone said she's a Trump supporter, so that tracks. And someone said, no, she's not. Yeah, that doesn't track because no, she's not. I just love when people try to, well, you do this. And that's not who I voted for. Thanks, actually. Appreciate you. So weird. Now, Bunny did respond to this, essentially went like line by line and disproved what Taylor Lorenz was saying. And then she even went further in her Instagram stories that night. Y'all, she had like a red light mask on. It was my favorite. And she was going over everything. And one thing that I do want to make sure that Bunny's careful with is that she was asking ChatGPT just to like quickly list out things or something, which you'll see in a minute. But we do want to make sure that when we're asking ChatGPT things or whatever, if you do use a AI model like that, that you are fact checking it because AI hallucinates quite a lot. For instance, I asked it one day to make a list or give me examples of XYZ. And one of the examples it gave me, I was like, that's wrong. I know for a fact that's wrong. So I called it out on it and it was like, not me calling out AI, right? But then it was like, oh my gosh, you're right, blah, 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 whatever. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm right. What are you even here for? Nothing. So AI does hallucinate. And when it comes to, finding certain like legislation, laws, things that have been passed, bills, stuff like that, it can hallucinate. So I do just want to make sure we know that and that we are careful with that. Okay.
Taylor Lorenz's video about me, the
Ignorant influencers shouldn't be getting involved in politics.
title is Influencers Should Not Be in Politics. And I agree at some point. I don't think influencers should be talking about things that they are not educated on. But with me trying to pass laws so that children of influencers are fairly compensated for the work that they do, which is being on social media, their lives are exposed, the people know their name, they need to be compensated for this. I have been working for children nonprofits for a very long time. Well before I was an influencer, I have been a part of Baby Cycle, which is a nonprofit in Florida. We do a lot of hurricane relief. Since becoming an influencer, last year we got hit really bad with a hurricane, and I raised over $100,000 from brands who were willing to donate a ton of stuff for women and babies in need in my area. I have been on the board of that for over 8 years. So I have to say, while I agree, I don't think most influencers should get involved in politics and maybe we should just stick to our lane, but like, this is kind of my lane. And I don't think sticking up for children is political.
No, I completely agree. Bunny did great work with hurricane relief. It was amazing. And when it comes to that and like being an influencer, yeah, same. I was able to raise a lot of and receive a lot of donations. Through the sheriff's office, we were able to distribute those. It was amazing. And we were able to do like drop boxes and stuff in my area. I mean, my neighborhood was hit really, really bad. I mean, there are houses that are still completely empty, which is horrible. Thankfully, we haven't had anything yet. We still have like a month and a half to go of hurricane season. It's super spooky, but Bunny was able to do that because she's an influencer. So I completely agree with that. If you are not like actually educated on something, then no, don't speak on it, or because then you could share like false information to your unknowingly misinformation, whatever, to your audience, and that can be dangerous. But then also, just because you disagree with someone doesn't mean that they are uneducated on something, right? Like, it doesn't mean that they're ignorant just because you don't agree with them. And Suzanne Lambert actually entered the comment section of that video that Bunny just did. I say just did. It was like 2 weeks ago. Anyways, so she was in that comment section and said, Taylor Lorenz hates content creators and consistently undercuts our work. Thanks for being you, Bunny. And Bunny said, jealous. And then, like I said, Bunny continued in her Instagram stories and she highlighted again the video that Taylor Lorenz shared when, she was in the yellow shirt. But let's go ahead and pass it over to our girl, Bunny.
Through Handmaid's Tale, and it's probably the most disturbing thing I've ever seen. I don't like this. And you guys are saying it's going to get better, but like, this is really disturbing. I wish this was a joke. I literally had someone commenting on my TikTok because the lies that this Taylor girl is spreading is that she's afraid because she's a reporter that if she reports on minors, she's going to have to pay them because that's how she makes her money, is like making articles and stuff. And she does something about, she did something about like kids on Roblox and like text little kids. I don't know, but she's worried about her losing money. Okay. So she has positioned specifically this one law that's in Utah, the one that Utah passed, and it doesn't in the law say that it has to be a parent account. So she's so angry about the monetization thing because it doesn't say parent. It just says if the kid is monetized. She said it's over $150,000 a year if the person makes, what I've read, it says 15,000. Anyways, she keeps saying that like, oh my God, anyone is going to have to pay these kids for, first the fuck off. Hello, you should. Why are you posting about children? She's like, well, if this is like a school shooter, this is what this person's commenting on my page. If there's a school shooter, you would have to put money in the account of the school shooter. The law says that the minor has to be in 30% of the content. If a news station is posting in a year 30% of their content about one minor, that's weird. That's weird. You're all weird if you think that posting 30% of your content about one specific minor. Hello? Like, I feel like I'm going crazy listening to these people. They literally said, with the pointing emoji finger to me, you want to put money in school shooters' pockets. I don't even know what to say. I'm concerned for the adults in America. Let's say Taylor was right? And she, about her whole thing about, let's say all her stuff that she was saying was right, which it's not. Why wouldn't she message me and say, hey, do you know what this bill really says? I would love to teach you about it. No. She uses my face, posts videos about me, went on a 4-hour live about me, calling me dumb, calling me all these names. I think we can clearly see who's in the right. Because if I was right about something, I don't think I'd be acting like this. I don't think I've ever called people names on the internet. Listen, I've gotten into a few spats here and there, but I'm always right. I mean, I would admit if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong about this bill, like, oh my God, I apologize, but Google's free. I also need to add one more thing. Even with that 30% that you add into that minor, so the minor is in 30% of your content, which, let's be fair, is quite a lot. If you have one minor in your content, especially if the minor is not your child, the law is written that you pay them 15% of the income of the videos that they're in. So let's say it's Taylor and she's posting 30% of her content about one random minor. You can't give the random minor 15% of what you earned? It's giving pedo, to be honest. Like, I don't even understand how these people are coming to these conclusions.
So let's just talk about the Utah state legislature website and the law that Taylor Lorenz, I almost just said, what's her face? What Taylor Lorenz was referencing, which was the Utah law that was passed. So this one is HB 322, Child Actor Regulations. It does broaden it to entertainment and content creation online, which is awesome. I love that. So what Bunny was saying is, from what I can see, is true. And obviously each state is going to probably be different, but I'm going to the Utah one because that is specifically what was passed and what was referenced by Taylor Lorenz. So it says Part 5, employment of minors in entertainment. And then so it goes over the definitions. So it says, as used in this part, administrative cost means a reasonable cost that a content creator incurs when making social media content. And then it says administrative cost does not mean any income a content creator pays to the content creator. And maybe that meant the qualified minor. I don't know. Anyways, and then it says compensated content means paid minutes, which I do like that it goes off minutes. That feature, which means monetized minutes, right? That feature a qualifying minor's personal content. Content creator means an individual who produces social media content. Content creator does not include a minor who is the sole producer of the minor's own social media content. So even if the content creator is a minor running their own account, and this specifically, it's saying content creators like over 18, right? And then children, minors, qualifying minors. Content shared means a determination that a content creator makes on the first of each calendar month of the percentage of minutes of a content creator's social media content that were published in the calendar month immediately before that day, so the prior month, and feature the personal content of an individual other than the content creator. Emotional harm or substantial embarrassment means psychological or emotional distress a reasonable, similarly situated individual would feel resulting from the individual's personal content appearing in a content creator's social media content, which I don't necessarily agree with. If you posted it publicly, that's what you get, right? Income from social media means the income a content creator receives from creating social media content after the content creator makes reasonable deductions for administrative costs. So your profit, not your revenue, which you could absolutely like screw someone out of that, right? Because technically on paper, I make like $4, right? But everything goes back into my business. So a market value compensated minor means a minor who in a calendar year has an average monthly content share of at least 30% of a content creator's content. Again, that is weird and is featured in social media content where the content creator received income from social media of at least $150,000 in a calendar year and is the parent or guardian of the minor. So if it's your kid, and I like that because if it's your kid and you have made over $150,000 a year from this and they are in at least 30% of your content, you're paying them, buddy. And that's good. Also though, that would be a business expense for you because you would have them be an employee anyways. So that works out for you. That's a write-off, the write-off people. Okay, but that's like a sub thing. So going back to featured in social media content where the content creator receives compensation for appearing in a content creator's content, that is substantially equivalent to the compensation that similarly situated represented minors would receive. Okay, so that one was more so about like the kid is the main character in like your vlogs, right? But then and we're going to skip the ones where it says like performer and then, dancer, writer, director, choreographer, composer, conductor, designer, whatever. And then there's one that says personal content. So personal content means social media content that features an individual's name, likeness, or photograph. Keep in mind, it's a minor, or for which an individual is the subject of an oral narrative. So like a commentary video. Who the fuck's making commentary videos about minors? What? I guess I have, right? Have I? I don't think so. Weird. Anyways, qualifying minor with this one is a minor who a content creator determines on January 1st of each year that in the immediately preceding calendar year, so the year before, had an average monthly content share of at least 30% of a content creator's content and was featured in social media content where the content creator received an income from social media of at least $150,000 in a calendar year. And then B is not a represented minor or a market value value compensated minor. And then there's the represented minor, which is when in a calendar year, blah, blah, same thing, 30%, and who was featured in social media content where the content creator received income $150,000 a calendar year, same thing, who was represented by a parent, guardian, attorney, or another individual with a fiduciary duty, means that they have to do what's in your best interest, even if it goes against what they want or what is best for them, to the minor, and who is not the content creator in negotiations relating to a minor's appearance in a content creator's social media content, and whose parent, guardian, attorney, or other individual with fiduciary duty to the minor enters into an employment agreement with the content creator. Yeah, so I assume that's the one that she's like mad about, but it's like, again, how is that going to silence people? Girl, like 30%. Also, how often are you talking about kids? If you cover one story about Roblox, if you talk to victims, if you do things like that, I mean, or, you know, use a source or something, you're saying their name or showing their picture or doing an interview, talking to them like one time, or maybe you might reference it again, but like with how much content like most of us put out, is she like misreading it? I'm not really sure what she's doing here. And then Bunny continued on her Instagram stories and said, in conclusion, for clicks and money, she's making up things, which it really does seem like a huge miscommunication. I don't know if she's just like, listen, sometimes when we get so passionate about something and like worried for our job or that like we're being silenced or feel threatened, like I get that we can just like go off and like kind of lose the plot, but it kind of seems like she's lost the plot and is obviously like mad at the wrong people. She's making things up. These laws only help children of influencers to make sure they are rightfully compensated for their work. If someone needs to reread the laws, it's her. I'm also not saying that there can't be issues in the future, but as of now, there is zero evidence any of this would harm kids like she's implying. Yeah, I don't understand why she thinks it would harm or silence kids. Anyways, the next month, in August, Taylor Lorenz wrote an article for Wired outing influencers who were allegedly paid upwards of $8,000 a month by a company called Chorus to post pro-democratic content. In this video and article, Taylor Lorenz called out content creator, your best friend and mine, Suzanne Lambert.
A powerful liberal dark money group is secretly funding some of the biggest Democratic influencers on the internet. After the Democrats lost last November, the party faced a reckoning. It was clear that they had failed to successfully navigate the new media landscape. While Republicans have spent decades building a powerful independent media ecosystem, the Democrats have largely relied on outdated strategies and traditional media. But last month, a covert new program aimed at bolstering Democratic support on the internet began rolling out. The 1630 Fund, a dark money group, is working with Chorus, a liberal influencer collective, to secretly pay pro-Democrat online influencers up to $8,000 a month. The influencers have to attend regular messaging check-ins, but the program is being run in secret. According to contracts viewed by Wired, the influencers would be kicked out for even speaking about it. Influencers included in communication and an onboarding session for those receiving payment from the 1630 Fund include Olivia Juliana, the centrist Gen Z influencer who spoke at the DNC last summer, Barrett Adair, a content creator who runs an American Girl doll-themed pro-DNC meme account, Suzanne Lambert, who has called herself a Regina George liberal, Aaron Parnas, who has been called the Gen Z Walter Cronkite, and dozens of others. The whole thing raises questions about independent media funding, non-disclosures on political content, and standards surrounding ethics and transparency in the content creator industry. Head over to Wired to read my full story.
And Suzanne, of course, did respond.
Hey, gorgeous. No, actually, George Soros bought my car directly with his credit card, which was so nice of him. And I want to be abundantly clear right on the outset. This is not me apologizing. This is not me convincing. This is not me trying to persuade. These are the objective, irrefutable facts. And if you choose not to believe an entire group of widely respected, smart, credible people over a perpetually disgraced ex-journalist turned beggar for Substack subscriptions, then I think you are, and I need you to listen to this very carefully, profoundly stupid. And I don't want you following me anyway. Just so we're super clear. So first on Taylor Lorenz, I have never met a more widely hated, universally contemptible person beyond Taylor Lorenz except for Ted Cruz. I have never met another journalist who respects her. I have never met an interview subject who was not misquoted by her, and this is all widely documented. Taylor Lorenz cannot stand content creators, and she doesn't like content creators because she does not stand to benefit from that landscape, despite being a content creator herself. And frankly, I don't blame her. Honestly, if I had spent my entire career trying to be good and relevant and taken seriously at something, only for people to come in who I deem less qualified, do way better, and have way better engagement than me, I would also likely be pissed. And maybe that's why she's super weird towards me. She made a video about me in February that a few people messaged me about. Yes, essentially saying that I was begging for media attention, which you wish, babe. My inbox stays full. I'm sorry yours doesn't, but that's not my problem. But then when I was like, wait, what video? She had deleted it, which to me is just not behavior characteristic of a serious journalist. She talked about meeting people at a White House Correspondents' Dinner event, but then it never came up to me or introduced herself, so she talks a huge game online and not in person, as with most of these people. And there is so much more here. You can Google it. I think that would benefit a lot of you, actually, but that is your source for this article, just so we're starting on the same page. On to the article itself. I have never been paid to make content by Chorus. That has never happened, nor have I broken any guidelines as far as disclosures. Chorus is an incubator program, so think of Chorus as like a hypo program, which I doubt a lot of you are in, or a leader development program, mentor program, etc. That is what Chorus seeks to do. And Taylor very dishonestly framed it as we are secretly getting paid. Let me ask you a question. When you get paid at your job, are you secretly getting paid because it's not announced to the internet? No, you are simply getting paid. I am not required to disclose all of my income streams on the internet. I am not required to tell you if I am getting paid unless it is sponsored content, which it is not. So it goes back to the quote, everything feels like a conspiracy when you don't understand how anything works. I am not obligated to tell you what stocks I trade. The only time I am obligated to tell you when I have been paid for something is when I am doing sponsored content and the law otherwise says so. She said that we were not allowed to say that we are in chorus when other creators have already shown that they have very clearly talked about chorus. I have not talked about chorus for the simple reason of what the fuck would I say beyond, hey guys, today I sat on a Zoom meeting and learned how to make YouTube thumbnails more visually appealing. And Taylor acknowledged this herself later on. So if some of y'all pretend that your issue is disclosures and then it turns out that we didn't break any rules about disclosures, what you are actually mad at, and I need you to be honest about this, is that creators are making money. And that you don't think that we should get paid for the work that we do. And I will never apologize for making money. Best wishes and high fives don't pay my bills. When did I take a vow of poverty? I am not a Jesuit priest or a monk. What about me told you that I didn't care about money? Because now I'm getting all these comments, oh, you switched up, oh, you're such a sellout. Let me ask you something. What did I switch up about? What did I used to say that I am not saying anymore? What position did I drastically change? I have always been an entertainment first comedian who talks about, amongst other things, making fun of MAGA politicians, making fun of MAGA, and making fun of the far left. If you genuinely think the problem is content creators making money and not all the atrocities being committed in this world, then congratulations. The propaganda worked on you too, and you are an incredibly useful idiot. Let me ask you something else. Do you honestly think, with all of the lawyers in the group, Elizabeth Booker Houston, Eliza Orlins, Aaron Parnas, to name a few, that we would sign contracts that required us to participate in unlawful activity like doing sponsored content without disclosing it? Do you think me, as someone who worked in finance for 10 years and is represented by some of the best lawyers, best talent agencies in the world, would do that? Why would that make sense for me? For the amount of $8,000 a month, which of course some of you say is too much and some of you say is too little. So again, y'all need to tighten up your messaging. Maybe get funded by dark money. I don't know. And the lies that have come out of this from extremists on the left and right is genuinely terrifying. I have never been paid by APAC. I have never posted anything I didn't believe. Nor have I ever been approached by an organization who wanted me to say things that I didn't actually believe in. Because why would they hire me if I had previously said things that counteracted the message they're trying to get across? That would be like Maybelline doing a brand deal with someone who doesn't wear makeup, or Olaplex doing a brand deal with Marjorie Taylor Greene. I've never taken money from the DNC. To be abundantly clear, I would. If they wanted to pay me to go to the DNC, I would go, and it would be disclosed. And I found this disclaimer in her Substack super interesting because it says right there she has no institutional investors, and yet she is a part of a cohort similar to Chorus that is funded by, wait for it, the exact same people. So again, to reiterate, I have never been paid to make content by a dark money group. I have never regurgitated talking points from a dark money group. I've never been forced to say anything I did not believe. I'll leave you with this. If seeing people getting paid to work, who by the way, many of whom belong to marginalized communities that y'all claim to support and care about, if seeing them making money and working pisses you off, too fucking bad. Finally, the switch up from a lot of y'all has been crazy. The fact that so many of y'all would willingly, blindly believe someone who is proven to be uncredible and getting in my comments saying all kind of awful things about me and the things I have chosen to be vulnerable with you about will not be soon forgotten by me. And when she again, inevitably, sympathizes with rhymes with Yahtzees like she did for Clockit 2 times this week, don't come crawling back to me.
Now, this was another creator that had a great reaction to Taylor Lorenz calling out creators and making these accusations that they're like paid by dark money and all that. So let's go ahead and watch his video because it's really good.
Support independent journalists. A bunch of clout-chasing influencers on here have gotten and
I know I did not just hear Taylor Lorenz. Less than a year ago, December 2024, was apparently honored to be called a creator when she left her job as a traditional journalist to what? Focus on her own career as a solo creator. Went on the Piers Morgan show, which many would claim is one of the most desperate things one can do. Call other people clout-chasing influencers. So Taylor is the person who wrote this article, which, by the way, I have no involvement in any of this. Who, if you remember from the beginning of last month in July, I had an issue with, especially when she resorted to WS, which is what this stands for, tactics, when she tried to discredit me by telling me that I'm not a real journalist. Well, that's hilarious because here you are now claiming that
influencers in my story are so desperate and they cannot stop making up just bold-faced lies.
Because you, a real journalist, clearly didn't do your own research before you wrote this article. And instead of just taking it down like you told me to a month ago, you decided to make 6 videos where you keep justifying yourself about how wrong you are.
So desperate.
You see, this organization called the Omidar Network has this program called the Reporters in Residence Program, where for 6 months, these journalists receive a monthly stipend. And look who is on that list, Taylor Lorenz. And in 2022, not only did the 1630 group, which is the same dark money group that Taylor talks about in her article, donated to Omidar Network LLC, but in this political article that was published in 2021, they write about how tech billionaire Pierre Omidar and his wife Pam disclosed earlier this year that they were responsible for a $45 million gift, which went to Civic Action Fund, which is a sponsored project of the 1630 Fund. Want to take a shocking guess at who owns the Omidar Network? That's right, Pam and Pierre Omidar. And while Taylor and the Omidar Network are fighting for their lives, dicing words, saying that no funding for the Reporters in Residence program, specifically this program, came from 1630 Fund, it's very obvious that the Omidar Network and the 1630 Fund are very closely tied, because you don't just give $45 million to people you don't know or believe in. But I will tell you what else Taylor likes to mince her words on. But this post from July 13th, where she announces that she's been accepted into this Omidar program, is the only time she ever announced it, because any of the posts that she posted afterwards, there is no mention of the Omidar Network in any of the captions, even though her criticism for these influencers are that they're not disclosing where the money is coming from, even though she's accepting money from Omidar Network and not telling anyone that that's who's funding her for the next 6 months. Oh, but she will use hashtags like FYP. I'm sorry, what was that again, Taylor?
I'm chasing influencers.
And also, since you're so against identity politics, I'm assuming you're not going to default towards, oh my God, misogyny because someone called me a woman again, right?
So that was amazing. Oh, hey, I curled my hair. Anyways, so that was amazing. Such a mic drop. I know on TikTok that a lot of times people, it bothers me so much when they're like, they make a claim and they don't even show anything to support it. Or they're like, well, you go look it up. No, bitch, you're the one telling me. You're the one sharing this information. Like, share it. Show it. You have the tools. It's so frustrating. So I love that he was like, and this, and this, and this, and this. That's a lot of hypocrisy. That's not cute. That's not good. I don't like that. And here is another one. And again, I'm showing all of these because it is not only people sticking up for themselves who were named or accused in this, but I really do think it's important to show facts. So
I applied to join this organization and was accepted. And I was offered to join at the highest level of support, which if you read this article, you know that's $8,000 a month, which is pretty fucking significant. Now, I do not engage in this creator versus creator drama thing. I don't do reaction videos. So this video might be a little different from what you're used to seeing from me. For those of you who don't already follow me, my name is Chris Goldsmith, former United States Army Sergeant, founder of Task Force Butler Institute and Veterans Fighting Fascism. These are nonprofits that train veterans to conduct open source intelligence research to hold extremists accountable for things like racist violence. We conduct investigations, we do infiltrations of extremist organizations, we gather evidence of criminality and provide it both to victims and to law enforcement so that we can hold these people legally accountable. And as part of this work, outside of the nonprofit, I am a threat intelligence analyst. I am someone who goes into the darkest places of the internet so that I can find out what criminals or soon-to-be criminals are planning to do or doing. And I provide warning to potential victims so that they can keep themselves safe and evidence to law enforcement so that those victims can find justice. One of the beneficiaries of my work, someone who I've done research to support, is Taylor Lorenz. I am one of the people who has been, and I'm not anymore, but has been responsible for gathering intelligence about threats to Taylor Lorenz's life or well-being, and for working with her former employers and their intelligence and security staff, working with law enforcement and working with platforms and internet servicers to keep that person safe. And I have watched, from the point of view of a threat intelligence analyst, Taylor Lorenz benefit from being protected by some of the best people in the field. And also benefiting from, as she should, working for a major journalistic institution in the past, benefiting from having the protection of a massive institution and the best money that lawyers can buy. And it is for that reason that I am beyond upset to see Taylor Lorenz promoting a false narrative that these creators, in a program that I applied for, full disclosure, and was accepted into, to see her smearing these creators, these independent creators, and then mocking them for talking about how their work puts them in danger. I know, because the reports that I have written that have gone on to warn Taylor Lorenz about the dangers that she faces, I know that she knows what kind of dangers exist out there for people in the public. And to see Taylor Lorenz mock a black woman, women of color, trans women, and acting as if them putting their faces and their names out in the public in a political space or in a journalistic or news related space, as if they don't face any danger, I'm just at a loss for words. Like, I don't know what to say. I am just angry, but not surprised.
So Chris Goldsmith goes on for another 4 minutes and he's wonderful. I actually just followed him. I really like what he had to say. And his caption here even says, here's why I applied for chorus, have no regrets about it, and just lost a lot of respect for Taylor Lorenz. And it's just mind blowing. Like it's truly, truly wild.
I have to do a friends only video because I am just dying at how fucking dumb people on this app are. Like, shockingly dumb. And I know that sounds kind of mean, but like, I don't even know what other way to describe it other than like zero media literacy. It's like a level of boldness that I've never seen, where I'm just like, you're literally just making things up. And it's depressing. Like, I started as an independent journalist. I'm an independent journalist now. I'm a huge believer in journalism, but I was telling another friend, because recently I've been feeling like, oh, maybe I like derailed my career by doing these mainstream media jobs. Like, maybe I should have just, in 2017, when I decided to be a full-time writer, like just gone hard into social media. And now that I see like what it's become, I'm just like, oh no, thank God I like got the reporting experience that I did, because these people are just liars, like pathological liars, and there's no media literacy. And then the cult fandoms around them, like not a single fact has been disproven. Not a single fact has been disproven. And there's no correction. And so they're just like making up these conspiracy theories. Anyway, I've been talking too long, but I just don't even know what to do. Like, it's so bizarre.
So Taylor Lorenz did respond to several people, including Suzanne Lambert. And Suzanne had said on Threads So Black people got in perpetually disgraced Taylor Lorenz's mentions, and she makes a close friend's story post about how these people are stupid and scary, just so we're all tracking. And she said, by the way, Tay, you sadly pondering if your mainstream media jobs were what derailed your career made my weekend, but it wasn't your jobs, it was just you. So Taylor Lorenz responded and said, you and the majority of creators in the course program are not Black, Suzanne, which doesn't really have to do with the previous thing. Anyways, so apparently you can only be offended if you actually are Black or even talk about, bring attention to it. I don't know, man. And Taylor responded again and said, no problem, Suzanne. I know you struggle with reading comprehension, so I'll break it down for you. You are not Black. You are trying anything to deflect from the facts of our story. I encourage people to read the story for themselves. Thank you for continuing to provide opportunities to promote our story. And it's the same thing of a dark money group is secretly funding high-profile Democratic influencers. Oh, Lord. Suzanne said, I forgot you only extend respect to Nazis. My bad. Yikes. So Suzanne responded again in her Instagram stories. Then it's a screenshot of a tweet or threads or whatever that says, Taylor Lorenz is a racist circus clown who has never been in the same room as self-awareness. She's like if Michael Scott was racist, anti-Semitic, and into peplum tops. So good. Like, it's so, Suzanne, I just love you so much. And then Taylor Lorenz responded and said, there are zero corrections or retractions on our story, which is why these people are trying to imply I'm racist for saying political influencers shouldn't take dark money without disclosure. And Suzanne said, no, I'm not implying you're racist. I am outright saying you are racist. And on the story it says, because what about me calling you a racist circus clown is implying it. I'm obsessed with that. That's amazing. And then she continued and said, who's going to take my phone? She's such a funny, silly goose. And it says, all this talk about chorus is making me think about what matters at my core. Us. People talking about 8K a month has me thinking about the 8K chances I blew with you. So funny. What's worse than dark money is keeping you in the dark, honey. I hope you DNC what you mean to me. You don't have to respond. Hope all is well. It's so perfect. And then she continued and said, Taylor's sole purpose on this planet is to sow hysteria and conspiracies. She openly and regularly discredits Black people and does it with a gummy smile. Stop it, Chelsea. She is an unwell person who carried out an orchestrated attempt to cosplay being a righteous crusader on behalf of Palestine, misappropriating anger that is not actually hers to have and harming the causes she pretends to care about in the process. And this was from her threads again. I'm assuming it doesn't look like Twitter. Yeah, threads. And it says, I'm not done talking about this yet. Girl, you ain't never done and don't ever be done. From Taylor Lorenz telling my friend that she couldn't identity politics her way out of this, which is insane, to referring to her as this woman, insane, to Taylor shoving 3 pieces of pizza down her throat on a TikTok live, giving Britney 2007, hey, be nice to Britney in 2007, and asking her crowd of, not the crowd, of 150 if they thought Maxwell Frost is APAC funded. He's not. She's officially done hiding that she does not respect Black people. Okay, next up. I came in real time with this one. It was truly wild. So next, Suzanne stuck up for another content creator after Taylor Lorenz was like super nasty to them. And so here's a little background of the situation.
Let me just say this. I was not originally set out to make a video one way or the other about the Wired article, right? I was just gonna let the chips fall where they may, see how everything plays out. The truth comes to the top eventually, right? But that was before a creator that I was mutuals with and reached out to, not even about this, just being like, hey, do you want, obviously I was, angling to talk to her about it if she was willing, but I was like, hey, do you want to connect? Like, I'm trying to build my comms with like more influencers, like, just being like, here's my number, here's my like Instagram, like reach out, whatever. And then after a few hours, I was like, you know what, like I need to let the chips fall where they may. I need to remove myself. And also with like everything going on, especially right then, I was like, her main concern probably isn't like getting back to her mutual that she's messaged back and forth with like 2 times. So I double messaged, I was like, actually like disregard these, like LOL. But that creator blocked me. So, and not only did that creator block me, they also posted a response to the allegations, to the article, and did it in the exact fucking worst way possible, by being deflective, by being defensive, by doubling down. And it's just at the heart of this, people like y'all, they don't want this to be true. And the way that you came out and didn't say, oh my God, guys, like, yeah, like I get the concern around the article. Like, I want to show like verbiage from our contracts. Like, this is in no way true. Like, we're not being told what to post or what not to post. Like, and also like, if that isn't enough, like here, like, I know I don't talk about it a lot, but I'm going to talk about Gaza more. I'm going to talk about the weirdness of the election more. Instead of doing that, they got on here and absolutely doubled down, even going as far as to say that we're just jealous of them for making money? Sister, you put yourself on too high a pedestal. There are plenty of other passive-aggressive, pretty liberal white girls out there. Trust, you're looking at one. You're looking at one. Anyway, y'all know I'm not some purity politics crazy-ass leftist because, Jesus Christ. But if these creators had the goal of like getting public trust back on their side, y'all are doing a really bad job. And I don't know which could be worse. If you are being paid and instructed to respond this way, or if you're doing it completely on your own and genuinely thought this was the way to go. And listen, right, I hope it comes out saying it's all fake and y'all get vindicated, because God knows I saw the tweets from the author of the article likening democratic socialists to literal Nazis. So not exactly saying she's to be 100% trusted or that she's like the perfect picture of morality and truth. No, like I said, nuance. I guess I'm just gonna let sleeping dogs lie, even though the dogs are very much awake and fighting. But what do you guys think? I know you've been seeing it over the last few days. Where do you fall? Also, y'all, I want to say that despite the infighting, the Rockland County court case update is today, August 29th. So is there any way that those of us who still believe in and want to fight for democracy can maybe just focus on that?
So they were mutuals, all that. Then he, gave his opinion on the situation and wanted to talk about it, and then said that she, blocked whatever. So she responded to it on her Instagram story, and it says, "Hi, you weird little circus freak. It's actually insane that you posted this and conveniently didn't mention that the reason I blocked you was because you were in my comments on some sanctimonious bullshit before I'd even had the chance to defend myself, and you'd also unfollowed me first." And keep in mind, like, this guy is a creator too. Like, they were mutuals. So he commented that, and, in her comment section, I'm going to assume it was about this whole situation, saying, "Suzanne, we were rooting for you," meaning like, better. Why'd you do this? All that. And then Suzanne posted on her Instagram story and said, "And when I say I keep a list, I mean literally a list of people that are influencers that are up and comers that she needs to boost, and then people who are dead to her." It's so funny. And she said, "May the bridges you've burned light the way for your inevitably short career." That's insane. So then she continued and said, Taylor Lorenz reposting this to her story as if to imply that Chorus prevents creators from talking about issues like Palestine is incredibly irresponsible, reckless, and dishonest, considering her own reporting acknowledges the program didn't even kick off until last month. The entire article, including who she chose to include and exclude, was meant to push this narrative. What a ghoulish, insufferable loser. Okay, so let's tie it all together, shall we? So at the same time, Bunny then, girl, I was like screenshotting every story. I had to keep hopping back and forth. It was crazy. These girls keeping me busy with work, I swear. But Bunny then was on her stories and, like I said, showing like what ChatGPT was saying. But she asked, why would someone be making videos about me saying that these certain laws, and she had previously shared like which ones specifically, are trying to censor children? And her chat came back and said, it's really a good question. It comes down to misunderstandings and sometimes misrepresentation of these laws. Here's why someone might be making videos claiming that they are censoring children: confusing labor protections with speech restrictions. So these laws are about money, contracts, and labor rights, not freedom of speech. Making sure kids get paid fairly and can remove videos later if they want. But when people hear younger kids can't be influencers, like Minnesota's under 14 monetization ban, they may frame that as the government is stopping kids from posting online. Again, that's not true. It's like being a content creator, being an influencer means you're getting paid from it. For instance, there are times when I can't monetize a video. There are many times when that happens and I have to demonetize it. Like, you can still talk about something, you can still voice your opinion on something and cover something, but it's just not going to be monetized. So for instance, Taylor Lorenz, if she's talking about this is specifically just with your monetized content. So if she has any children included in her content, then she could just demonetize that specific thing, that article, that video, that whatever she's doing. And I'm not saying that I don't think that people should be paid for the work that they do. Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of times when people are like, oh, well, true crime content shouldn't be monetized, or this content should be monetized. And it's like, well, I put time and work into this. Also, like, my editors need to be paid. Like, my researcher needs to be paid. I need to be paid for my time. Like, this is my job. This is their job. So like, saying that you shouldn't be making money off of something when it's like this and like you are putting in the work and all that, like, that's ridiculous. Okay, so then Bunny also shared this, and it said, quick takeaways for your advocacy. Momentum is real after Illinois and California multiple 2025 laws. Utah, Arkansas, what's MT? Montana, right? Virginia and Hawaii converged on trusts, records, and deletion rights. And then no censorship in these pay trust laws they've drafted to be viewpoint neutral. Strongest youth agency features right now deletion right to be forgotten. Utah, Montana, Minnesota, Michigan. The M ones are always confusing to me. And clear trust mechanics, California, 65% proportional, others proportional formulas, blah, blah, blah. So tying it all together, Taylor Lorenz is a quite controversial figure. And listen, I definitely like to be a critical thinker. I like to be, logical. I like to, see nuance and see sides of everything. Absolutely. I don't have to agree with where someone's coming from. Like, I might not understand it, but like, I do like to try to at least like understand how they got there, right? However, I'm not sympathizing with Nazis, but people have accused her of being racist, lacking journalistic integrity, and outright lying in her reporting. And in many of her responses, Taylor Lorenz has doubled down and then attacked the people who have either quite literally proved her wrong or who were just critiquing her work. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was a little bit, it wasn't really different. I'm still calling someone out and covering a situation that happened on social media. So just kidding, it's the same as everything else I do. Anyways, feel free to go support the girls, the girlies, those strong women, Suzanne Lambert and Bunny Hedaya. Do not interact in a negative way with Taylor Lorenz. I'm not telling you to do that. This is not a petting zoo. This is not an interactive experience. Do not touch the poop. Okay? Don't do it. Although it might be fun sometimes, don't do it. Did you know that if you're subscribed to my channel, your butt looks good? It's an instant BBL. You will have cheeks for weeks. I don't know if you knew that, but you will have cheeks for weeks. However, if you are not subscribed to my channel, you are dead to me. And that's probably why you have hemorrhoids and tonsil stones. I don't make the rules. Okay, that's on you. So subscribe. Your life will be so much better, and I appreciate it. And I hope that you stay spicy and assertive and know that you are valuable. Your feelings are valid, unless you're being super unhinged, but that's okay. You'll calm down and realize later you just needed a snack. Anyways, I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye.